Thank you. Speak up or not? That's the question. What if you notice something troubling at work? Maybe it's a manager acting inappropriately. Maybe it's a problematic policy. Maybe it's a safety concern. Most employees pause. They hesitate. Not because they don't care, but because they worry about what will happen if they speak up. Will it make it worse? Will they be labeled difficult and sidelined? Will their job be at risk? I started my legal career as a federal law clerk, and towards the end of my clerkship, I faced that very question: speak up or not? During a trial, my judge began heading down this path towards reversible error. Every instinct in me told me to remain silent. After all, he was the judge. And yet, I also knew that the consequences of silence could be serious, like reversible error. And he had told us it was our job to keep him out of trouble. So I did what I never thought I would do. I stood up in open court and remained standing until I caught his eye. He stopped himself mid-sentence and said, "I've said enough. I'm going to take the matter under advisement." I sat back down and I breathed this huge sigh of relief. Phew. That moment taught me something I have taken into every workplace since then. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is action in the face of fear. I was able to act in that moment because the judge and I had built a solid foundation of trust. He'd become a mentor to me. So I knew in standing up, it wouldn't be viewed traditionally as a sign of disrespect, that he would actually view it as a sign of respect. That moment has also served as an incredibly powerful reminder to me that silence can sometimes be just as risky as speaking up. Underneath this hesitation to speak up is fear. It is one of the biggest workplace challenges facing organizations today. As the leader of an in-house labor and employment function and team of lawyers, I am struck by this paradox. We have all of these laws that protect employees from retaliation, and yet the fear of retaliation is more prevalent than ever. So if all these laws exist, why then does the fear persist? And what can we as in-house counsel and as leaders do about it? A workplace culture built on fear leads to silence and inaction. Employees don't speak. Managers, they don't act. Problems, they don't just poof disappear. They actually spread. We see misconduct fester, performance falter, engagement decline, and trust erode. Organizations start then functioning from a place of reactivity just to survive. There's no room to innovate, grow, and thrive. And here's the true irony. What they're trying to avoid, retaliation complaints, they actually become more likely. So here's the thing. The law can punish retaliation after it happens, but it can't build the trust that prevents fear from happening in the first place. That's where creating and cultivating a coaching culture comes in. It's the surprising practical antidote to retaliation. So the fear of retaliation is more than just a legal risk. It's a culture killer. For those of us as in-house counsel, we are often seen as the enforcers and guardians of compliance. we're actually more than that. We have the ability to shape the workplace and influence how issues are raised and addressed. That makes us culture cultivators. Okay, so what do I mean by coaching and a coaching culture? Practically speaking, it's not about hiring a leadership or career coach for every employee. Rather, it's about the everyday interactions between leaders and their teams. So coaching means asking questions instead of giving answers. It means using curiosity, not judgment. It means guiding instead of giving orders. In other words, it's about the everyday habits that build trust and make a space for employees to speak up. So why coaching? It's actually really quite simple. Coaching outperforms managing. Yes, coaching outperforms managing. It creates an environment that de-escalates conflict, encourages problem solving, and develops employees. It also creates an environment where employees feel seen and heard, and that's what then empowers them to speak or act. So that's what I mean by a coaching culture. So meet Sarah. She's the head of talent acquisition and development at her organization. Her direct report has recently come to her and shared concerns of discrimination related to an AI tool that they're using in the hiring process. Sarah doesn't know what to do with this concern. If she escalates it, will she be seen as disloyal? Will she be blamed for not raising it sooner? And to add on to that, her direct report recently hasn't been performing that well. So if she tries to address those performance issues, will she be accused of retaliation? Sarah feels stuck. Her fear is what leads to her silence and her inaction. But what if? What if Sarah's organization had a coaching culture? What might be different? Well, Sarah's first instinct might be curiosity, not fear. She could reach out to in-house counsel and seek some advice and guidance. She could escalate the concern to her leader, knowing she'd be met with questions, not blame. She could connect with her direct report and discuss the performance challenges in a way that was designed to help that employee grow and improve. So here's the key. Fear of retaliation thrives in silence. Coaching cultures counteract that silence by creating conversation. Did you get that? Fear of retaliation thrives in silence. Coaching cultures counteract that silence by creating conversation. With conversation, feedback occurs in a loop, not just in one direction. Curiosity leads to learning. Active listening with empathy and validation, it leads to empowerment. It creates a message that says your voice matters. So for us as in-house counsel, when issues come to us, we can model coaching in our responses before we launch into our legal advice or our action steps. We can also champion coaching as part of our risk mitigation and management strategy. We can even coach managers on how to use coaching as they lead. Now, coaching will not eliminate legal risk, but it will shrink the space where fear exists. And remember, fear is where retaliation complaints often take root. So how can leaders create a coaching culture? Here are 5 practical steps backed by research that you can take back to your teams. First, lead with curiosity, not conclusions. Ask open-ended questions. Actively listen with empathy and validation. Second, model vulnerability and lean in to learning. Adopt a growth mindset. Share mistakes made and lessons learned. Third, separate the person from the problem. That allows you to address issues objectively and fairly, not punitively. Fourth, normalize feedback, both giving and receiving. When giving, adopt the 1+1 framework. So start with positive feedback and then pair it with constructive feedback. When receiving feedback, be open, pause, reflect, follow up with curiosity. And then fifth, guide instead of direct. Use those open-ended questions to brainstorm, explore ideas, develop solutions. That is what creates ownership and accountability. And then that ultimately leads to empowerment and action. So look at the research-backed results of all of this. Higher productivity, improved job satisfaction, better decision-making, greater innovation. Who wouldn't want all of that? Let's get just a little bit more practical and concrete. When coaching, we can use responses like, tell me more, help me understand. We can ask questions like, what's the problem we're trying to solve? What's our goal? What's our objective? We can listen and acknowledge concerns neutrally, and then invite perspective sharing. And then we can follow up with questions in a guided way to explore options and support decision-making. Think back to Sarah, our leader who was stuck, too afraid to say or do anything. In a coaching culture, she is empowered to speak and act. Because coaching protects trust, it creates an environment where speaking up and acting don't require courage. It's just the way that work gets done. That makes it a place that people want to work. It's also what leads to the most efficient, effective, and highest performing teams. So as we each head back to our desks, I want to challenge each of you to show up as a coach. That means actively listening, guiding, supporting your colleagues to develop their skills and improve their performance. The more you do it, the more trust you will build, and the more people will share with you. You can create a micro space that has a coaching culture. And as you model coaching, that culture will grow and spread. Trust will overtake fear. Silence, it will transform into speaking up. A coaching culture is the antidote to retaliation. It's what creates fearless workplaces. So I'm here today to urge you to take responsibility for creating a coaching culture in your own workplace. That will make it a place that people want to work and also where they'll strive to do their best to help the organization thrive. Thank you.